Welcome to another lesson. In this lesson, we're moving away from the topic we spent lots of times on talking about, which is JavaScript object, into another aspect of JavaScript, which is the which is JavaScript scope. We've seen how you declare variables, we've seen how you can assign variables, you've seen what you can do with variable. But then, most of the times when we work with variables, are we always aware of the availability of the scope of that said variables? Or we just assume that things will work or things will work in place, or when we call a variable, we'll get a correct output. Or when we call a variable in a way that we are not supposed to call it and get an output, how can we be so certain that the output, the result is the correct thing, but is not? So these are some of the things that we are going to be looking at in this particular topic, which is JavaScript scope. Just like I have right here on my screen that scope is equals to feasibility. So scope equals feasibility. So when we're talking about scope, we are basically talking about feasibility. Now, scope determines the accessibility, the feasibility of variables. So JavaScript scope has to do mainly with variable, the availability of variable, the feasibility of variable in JavaScript. Now, JavaScript variable have three types of scope, which is what we are going to be considering one after the other. So, the variables in JavaScript, they have three types of scope. And the number one scope that is available for all variables in JavaScript is the global scope. The second one is the function scope, and the third one is the block scope. So what these three are simply referring to is that, just as their name suggests, global scope is referring to something that is accessible from anywhere, widely accessible. Now, function scope, there are times when you have variables in your functions. How do you maintain their scope? How do you know their limitation and how do you work with them when you have variables in functions? And the block scope refers to, just a snippet of code. If you have a snippet of code that contains variable inside of it, how do you manage the scope of such variable? These are what we are going to be taking a look at in this lesson. And for the start, we are going to be considering the first one, which is the global scope that I've just mentioned now. Now, variable declared globally outside any block or function that have global scope. When you declare a variable globally, and this is what that means. So let me just pull up my editor so that you can be following along, not just it's theory. And here we move away from objects and we are talking about JavaScript scope. So I'll change this to scope just scope determines variables feasibility. So we are not talking anything about objects there. So let me just take all of this out. And then, so I'm just going to make a simple variable. And then let me just name it anything that I want. Let me do for x equals to 2. Now, this is a global variable. Sorry, this is a variable that I just declared that has a global scope. It has a global scope in the sense that anywhere in my code, I can just call this. Let me show you what that means. Document.write. Let me call my hex. Now, in my output, I think you should see 2. I expect this to write to my screen, but it's currently not writing. Let me see. Is there any issue? There's no issue. Okay. Let me just use the usual code. So sorry. I'll take this out. Let me connect it up and see. It's not working. Okay. Let me just go through the usual way. Document to get elements out. Yeah. So I'll just remove this. I just want to show the value of my x. Now you can see this is true. Now, which means that this variable I just declare here, I can access it from uh anywhere. So anywhere in your code is where you can access your global scope variable in JavaScript program. Now, when you declare variable with either var, let, or const, they are quite similar as to their scope availability when you declare them outside the block. So what that simply means is that what you have here, I declare it outside the block. I can as well use let and say name equals to Bob. Now, if I try to access my y outside as it is right now, it's definitely going to give me an answer. But if I have something like this and say a function name, okay, let me give it just something like this, and I say, okay, let's first name, I'm just using camel case and nothing Bobbish. Now, if I try to access my first name, let's take a look and see what will happen. Okay, I don't have first name. I have first name. I'm sorry, I have it like this in small letter. You can see that nothing is displaying in my screen because this variable that I have now is now scoped to the function in which it is declared. But if I have it outside the way I have it, you will see that easily I will be able to access it. Let me refresh. Okay, something is wrong. Oh, sorry. I'm using that name here again. I'm just change it to maybe anything so I can access what I need to access. And then let me inspect. You see, I don't even need to inspect. You can see that right here, I'm getting what I am getting my output. And as well, if it is const that I use and const y equals to 12, it should be globally accessible. And by just putting it here, I think I should get my output, which is the correct thing that I am getting. So each of these three variables, var, length, and const, have global scope, here in that they are declared outside a code block, which means that there's no any other code surrounding them. It's not like they are declared outside function or in a snippet that has other code around it. So any variable that is declared outside a function like this becomes global, which means that as long as the variable is not in a code block, it has a global scope. And that is the example that I just gave by declaring this function. You see that I was not able to access this first name as as it was in a function. When I tried to do it, see what I'm talking about, you can see that nothing is displaying for me because this variable is inside a block scope and not outside. But I was able to access this because it has a global scope. So when you declare variables outside of a block scope or outside of a block scope of function, it has global scope in JavaScript. So all script and function in the same web page can access a variable with global scope. So which means that if you have script or function in the same web page, just as what we have here, you can access a variable that has a global scope. So either the var x or the let one or the const one, they all have global scope as they are outside of a code block, and then you can easily access them because of the global scope that they have, which means that they are globally available for use in your code or in your program. So this is what global scope means in JavaScript. And in the next lesson, we'll continue to see what is functional scope in JavaScript and how to take note of when you are when you come across functional scope and how to work with them, how you can access them within that function when they are being declared. Thank you. And in the next lesson, I'll see you.